On today's show, it's all about big Lake of the Woods walleye. You don't want to miss out. Fishing with Gussy is proudly sponsored by and uses Shimano rods and reels. Visit fish.shimano.com for more information.
Oh, that was my first cast of the day, and I will be honest with you though, I was guiding yesterday and right at the end of the day, we caught a couple nice big walleyes. The wind was kind of blowing into this point. My graph was lit up and we had to get back to town, but there it is. That's a beautiful walleye. I got my net with me just because I'm by myself. I've been guiding quite a bit the past week or so. And my hands are beat up and cut up. I have been forgetting to bring a net, and these walleyes will tear you up. So that's a pretty nice start to the day. First cast. We're using artificial baits today, soft plastic, little minnow imitators. And in the summer, when these fish are fired up, they're biting good, you can catch them just as good on plastic as you can on live bait. So that's what the show is going to be about today, and hopefully we're going to catch a bunch of more nice walleyes just like that. Should be a good one. There we go. Right up pretty shallow on that point. I think I hit the bottom and I lifted it once and got hit, so. That's what we like to see when those walleyes have a good attitude like that and they want to eat. This one's kind of logging it, staying down. A little bit bigger than the last one. Who says walleyes don't fight? Look at that. And I'm kind of using a fairly stiff, heavier rod, and we'll talk about that here after I get this fish in, but that's a nice walleye right there. I think I'm gonna just try and grab this guy. Look at that, right in the top lip. He was hooked good. So, all right, that's an average fish for where I'm fishing here today. I found a school of pretty big ones, so I'm gonna get this guy back in the water and we're gonna try to catch Mr. Big. So that's my bait. I've got two of them, two rods on my deck. So same jig, that's a Northland 1/4 ounce jig in the metallic series. Really nice jigs for this. They got a big eye. I like a little bit of color. This bait is called the Jackal Clone Fry. Very realistic. You can see it's got, that's a sexy shad color. There's a little bit of chartreuse in there, but natural, you know, it's got a white belly. And then this one, this is the bait that I've been using for the last few years a lot for doing this. That's a Northland Impulse smelt minnow. Just plain white is pretty tough to beat. So we're getting some pike mixed in as well. And so having two rods on the deck ready to go is sort of keeps you fishing a little bit longer and not retying all the time. So when I lose both of them, then I'll retie. And you know, sometimes this Jackal bait's a little bit bigger, a little bit thicker. You know, and some days the Impulse bait's a little more subtle. That's gonna work better. Sometimes the beefier, bigger bait's gonna work a little bit better. And I mean, these are 3-inch soft plastics. There's 4 and 5 and 6-inch ones that'll work. for me, when I'm pitching, you know, my boat's sitting in 15 feet of water right now and I'm pitching shallower. When I'm fishing that relatively shallow water, it seems like these smaller plastics are better for me. So I'm not saying you can't catch them on the 4 and 5 inch stuff, but the smaller stuff seems to be a little bit better. Using braided line, certainly gonna help you feel those bites. Some of them are really hard, like almost like getting punched in the arm, just like that. And some of them are just kind of there and you don't really feel it. But with that braid, you get such a solid hook set, and you're also able to, you know, really move that bait pretty good too. If you're using just mono, it's hard to, you know, really create that snap jigging effect that's triggering those fish to bite. So this one I've actually got kind of foul hooked in the side. So he probably took a run at the bait because I really felt like I got a really good bite there. And then I stuck it in it's kind of by his pectoral fin. I'm gonna net this guy just because it'll be a little bit tougher to grab him probably. This is the Fraybill Conservation Series net, and they're a little bit more expensive, but they're nice and easy on the fish. They don't tear up their fins or you know, rub their slime off or anything. Just about time for a new bait here. I glued that one on there this morning. And you can see it's pretty tore up. I've been fishing for about literally less than 10 minutes and I'm pretty much ready for a new bait. So these are pretty soft, these clone fry. So, and the impulse baits are pretty soft too. So it works, you know, since we're snap jigging and ripping that bait, you definitely want to get yourself some crazy glue and glue those baits on because they'll stay on there a lot better and not slide down your hook, and then you're not constantly having to fix it and straighten it back out again. So I'm gonna get a new one of these out and show you how I glue them on there and rig them up.
Coming up next on Fishing with Gussy. Tech Tips is brought to you by Northland Fishing Tackle, made by fishermen for fishermen.
One thing I like to do, now you can see that bait comes with some really pretty eyes on it. And it's designed for drop shotting for bass, which it's a really good bait for. I want that head to be flush with my jig head, so I'm actually biting off those nice pretty eyes, and it's gonna fit a lot better on my jig head. Plus, these jigs that I'm using have, you know, a really nice big eye on them, which I think helps, you know, catch fish, and walleyes can see pretty good. So the other thing that these jigs have is you can see the little wire keeper underneath. That helps keep the plastic on there straight, and it helps keep it on there just in general. But most of this jackal stuff is pretty soft, so if you don't glue these baits on, they're gonna slide off. You're only gonna be able to catch 1 or 2 fish on a bait. If I glue it, I can actually catch, you know, 8 or 10 fish on one bait before it gets too tore up. So all it takes is like a little drop and a half, and then you push that up there, and there you go. You've got a deadly, deadly walleye bait ready to do battle with. So, you know, I've talked about it before, and it doesn't matter which kind of soft plastic you use. Look at that, I got my fingers stuck together. I touched it and it wasn't dry yet. This will be part of the blooper reel at some point. That's probably the worst. There, I got him. That's the worst I think I've ever got my fingers stuck together before, so be careful with this stuff. But yeah, see how that's perfectly straight? You want that. If the bait is bent or kinked, it's gonna spin when you're pulling it through the water, and you're not gonna catch as many fish, and it's gonna twist your line up really bad. So you want that bait to be perfectly straight, and you're gonna catch a lot of fish on it.
Tech Tips is brought to you by Northland Fishing Tackle, made by fishermen for fishermen.
Look at this guy. Now that's a little bit bigger, but that's why all these big walleyes are in this place where we're fishing today. Is these things are kicking around. And now I don't know if that, it doesn't look like it has any teeth marks or was puked up by one of the fish I caught, so he might have just died on his own. But that's a Cisco or lake herring, and that's a big part of the diet for most of the big fish in our lakes up here in northwestern Ontario. And we use those for you know, a lot ice fishing for lake trout and pike, and you know, obviously walleyes eat them too, so kind of neat. Most people, you know, are a little bit apprehensive to try using soft plastics when they go walleye fishing. And I'm not telling you that soft plastics is better than live bait, because on, you know, a lot of days throughout the course of the season, live bait's gonna be better. This was kind of a quick trip, last minute. We decided to come out here this morning. And I didn't have anybody it's middle of the week, all my friends are working. So I didn't have anybody lined up to come with me, but I really wish I had another line in the boat today, because I'd like to put some live bait down there and to fish against with the soft plastic, because I think these fish right now are fairly shallow. Water temperature's pretty good. You know, there's one. We're in a warming trend right now. So the fish activity levels are good. They're biting, they want to eat. And you know, if you're faced with a cold front, that type of thing, this is a big one, I think, then, you know, the live bait's probably going to be better. But there's definitely times when this plastic is the ticket and is better. So that's why people come to Sunset Country and Lake of the Woods area to fish for walleyes. Right there. That's a big one. I was right under the boat in about 12 feet of water on my little Northland jig, and that little jackal clone fry. Look at that. That's a big walleye. Beautiful fish. Okay, we're gonna take a break. We'll be back with more walleye action coming up after this.
Coming up next on Fishing with Gussy.
So looking for locations to find these fish, these walleyes, when they're in that shallower water. It seems like if you can combine a number of different sort of structural elements or types of cover, that's what you want. So in our situation today, we've got a point, which is, you know, a pretty major piece of structure. We've got some, you know, relatively shallow water around it and some weeds, some nice green cabbage weeds. And then, you know, there's a little bit of current going by out here. Current's always good if you've got a little bit of that. And it's all about just, you know, looking for high percentage type places and then fishing them and seeing which ones are holding fish. So beaches can be really good. You know, across Northwest Ontario, walleyes love sand. And if you're on a new body of water that you've never fished before, it usually works out pretty good if you can find some beaches. There'll be walleyes nearby, particularly, you know, during the first half of the season. Kind of from opening in May through July, beaches can be pretty good. This might be the biggest one yet, people. It's a good one. Whew. Look at that thing. Unbelievable. I gotta grab my net here. Tangled up. All right. So this actually works pretty good. This net's kind of got a long enough netting in it where I can do that and I don't have to worry about that fish hitting the carpet or anything. Look at that, just like that. There's not a lot of places, that you can go and catch walleyes like that. Northwestern Ontario, Sunset Country is certainly one of them. And That's the fish that most people spend their time looking for around here and traveling here to catch. So in addition to all the bass and pike and muskies and lake trout and everything else, there's no shortage of these guys in our lakes and rivers across northwestern Ontario. Woo. I was on my way to go pick Shelly back up on shore and got rudely interrupted again. That's the second time today. This one feels pretty big actually too. Ugh. This is sick. No shortage of big walleyes today. You never catch them like this when you're in a tournament though, you know. You catch one like that and you're a pretty happy camper. I was going for a little drink of water there and just sort of dragging that thing, and my rod just about got pulled out of my hands. This is unbelievable, the size of the fish that I've got sort of found here in this little school. Look at that. Monsters. The only bad thing about this spot is if you like to eat them, these aren't really eaters, but it's fun to catch big ones, and I'm all for that. That's a 27 or 29 inch fish. That's a big walleye right there. Okay, come here, buddy. Look at this. You think he wanted that soft plastic? He choked that thing down there. So I gotta grab my pliers and we'll get this girl back in the water. Whoa. Not super thick, just because they're still fairly early in the summer, so a lot of these fish aren't as thick and heavy as they would be later in the summer or into the fall, but that's still a beautiful fish. Awesome. All right, get this one back.
Coming up next on Fishing with Gussy. We're fishing today, just like many have since the history of northwestern Ontario fishing has started, for walleye. Also known as pickerel, these fish have never waned in popularity. This is mostly because people love to eat them. Their mild, flaky texture and abundant availability has always made them an easy target for anglers. In fact, many people in this area have a hard time eating any other fish because they like the flavor that much. Up until the 1970s, when freshwater fish was sold more freely on the commercial markets in Ontario, walleye was highly sought after. Lindstrom's Fish Market, a popular Lake of the Woods fishery, sold more fresh walleye than any other species available. Buyers in the big city markets of New York, Boston, Montreal, and Europe would buy directly from Lindstrom's with fresh Lake of the Woods walleye listed right on their menus. But if you're lucky, a shore lunch is one of the best ways to cook them up fresh, right from the end of your lure to the bottom of your stomach.
I just had a little lull in the action, so I switched up to my other bait, the little Impulse, which is a little bit more finessey and subtle. And I finally got another one to bite. This guy's kind of, this guy had a run-in with a muskie or something because he's beat up, he's sluggish, he's hardly fighting. Look at him. Look at that. Maybe not very recently, but whoa, now he wants to fight and battle with me, but look at that. He ate that thing up, man, big time. Pop that hook out. But yeah, something had a hold of him. Look at his, whoa. There he goes, good release. Better than bouncing off the carpet. But you could see his dorsal fin was all beat up and just like, you know, a 6-inch section on each side of his body was kind of chewed up. So looks like maybe something had a hold of him. Always keep an eye on your hummingbird because right there I saw that guy just sort of drifted over a nice big mark, and I dropped it down there and jigged it 3 or 4 times, and it's another nice big one too. Man, that's fun. Video gaming walleyes. You know, for this shallow fishing, we're not really using the electronics a whole lot, but that's why you always keep them running right there. Ooh, it's trying to bite me. Okay. So I was talking about live bait earlier, and with live bait, you know, I think I could catch them better today on this plastic than I could with live bait. There's another one. Now, you see how I'm jigging that bait? With the plastic, you can be a lot more aggressive in how you jig. When you're fishing with live bait, it's a lot of just holding it as still as you can, you know, under the boat or pitching it out there softly and dragging it. With these artificial baits, you don't want the fish to be able to inspect it that closely. You want to, you know, rip it by them, move it by them fast, and then they have to make that decision of, it's going by me, do I eat it or do I let it go? And that's kind of the theory behind why these artificial baits are more, you know, more effective. If I'm just fishing it slow, I probably wouldn't get nearly as many bites, but these walleyes are in a mood to eat right now, so that aggressive kind of almost snap jigging is, you know, what's triggering them to strike. So does this look like fun or what? Because it definitely is a lot of fun.
Fishing with Gussy proudly uses and is sponsored by Jackal Lures.